Welcome back, True Seeker. Thursday night football just concluded. My pick was incorrect, but I want to show you the very clear riddle that's in play. The Bengals are now 2 0 on the season. And in week 1, they defeated the Colts 34 to 23. Now tonight they defeated the Ravens 34 to 23. And the thing about the Colts and the Ravens is they often have riddles together in the same week, in weeks that follow each other like this, because the Colts are originally from Baltimore. They used to be the Baltimore Colts. And the year they moved was 1984, 34 years ago. So what are the odds the Bengals beat the two teams in consecutive weeks with 34 points? In Gematria, Maryland equals 34, the state that Baltimore's in. Again, it used to be the Baltimore Colts. Now it's the Baltimore Ravens. The current QB of the Ravens is Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, 34. Ravens, 34. To remind you how significant this number is to Maryland, let's go back to the college basketball tournament this year, March Madness, where for the first time ever, a number 16 beat a number 1 seed. And this was the 34th tournament where there was that possibility. A team from Maryland won. Maryland won. They won March 16th. On the 16th, the 16 beat the 1 seed. Because it was the 34th tournament with the opportunity, in each tournament there's 4 opportunities, so 34 times 4 is 136. 136 is the 16th triangular number. In the 136th opportunity, a 16 beat a 1 for the first time in this past March Madness. Not by coincidence, because sports are a script, and oftentimes you can get ahead of the script. Sometimes, trying to get ahead, you'll be wrong, like I was tonight. And I want to show you where I went wrong. I saw that tonight was Joe Flacco's 156th regular season game. And perfect, because he was playing the Cincinnati Bengals, which have Gematria of 156. Further, I wrote Jim here, but I meant John Harbaugh. Tonight he was going for his 96th career win. And I thought how perfect he can get it against Cincinnati. Remember how on the season opener, September 6th, there was the shooting at 5/3 Bank in Cincinnati. That was a date with 53 numerology, as well as a date with 26 numerology. And Bank has Gematria at 26, but on 9/6, the Cincinnati shooting. Going to have to watch Cincinnati this year. Maybe they got a surprise season. Marvin Lewis was supposed to be out of there. He's back. Bengals are 2-0. Don't forget the Bengals used to be Marvin Lewis's team. And John Harbaugh and Marvin Lewis both have the September 23rd birthday, 9/23. I also thought that tonight the Ravens would pick up their 9th road win in Cincinnati in their 23rd attempt. Like how both of their birthdays are 9/23. 23 is also the 9th prime number. So we were looking at that number, and the Ravens lost with 23. Don't forget football equals 83. 83 is the 23rd prime. They say the draft class of 83 was the best QB class ever. In the year 83, the Baltimore Colts drafted John Elway. They sent him to the Denver Broncos, kind of like how Andrew Luck came into the NFL as a member of the Colts, and then Peyton Manning went to the Broncos. These clear riddles. But anyway, I thought John Harbaugh would pick up his 96th win tonight, and he came into the game with 66 career losses. I thought he'd sit on those 66 career losses. Cincinnati in the base ciphers is 96 and 66. And, the majority of times the way things line up this way, it's the way it plays out. So what I did point out is the date numerology today. Today's date numerology, the different paths, you could get numbers of 60, 33, and 24, and Bengals have that gematria of 60, 24, and 33. And if you followed me back in 2014 when I first started to make sports predictions, that was the only way I called games, was looking at the date numerology and if a team went with it. I didn't take the time to evaluate QB records and coach records, and more often than not, by a lot, I was right just using the date numerology. But sometimes I'd be wrong and I'd wonder, well, how come it didn't work out this time? And then I'd look and I'd see, oh, it lined up perfectly with the coach's record. And so anyway, sometimes, taking all this into consideration, you'll still get it wrong, but you can always see the way they scripted the game. And, sometimes it's a riddle that you're just not thinking about. I should have considered that last week the Bengals played the Colts, and this week they were playing the Ravens, because there's often a direct parallel between these teams. And, hindsight's always 20/20, but understand, the purpose of me doing this work, my purpose isn't to gamble and win money. My purpose is to wake up the world to the fact that sports are rigged and scripted and mocking the fans. And, I want people to understand, you're paying all this money to watch people play a game. And have you ever asked yourself why these athletes are paid so much money? Because if you think about it, in this nation, the United States of America, maybe the ratio is not what it used to be, but when I was growing up, I was born in 1983. When I was growing up, most young guys, most boys, we were into sports. And, we wanted to be athletes, and we wanted to play sports at recess, and we wanted to play sports after school. And, the dream, and I think this is still true for a lot of people. You don't see kids play outside as much anymore, more like into video games, and now you want to be like, I don't know, professional gamers or whatever. But anyway, the point is there's a big pool of people that play sports, and there's a lot of athletic talent, and, there's a lot of people who are fun to watch play. I'm just imagining that if we lived in a world where sports were honest, and say every city, was actually trying to, I think the way sports should be is you should only be able to get people from your state, or if your state doesn't have a team, your region. Like Washington doesn't have an NFL team in Oregon or Idaho or Montana, so maybe that region, people from that region. I'm just saying, imagine like if the best athletic talent could only play in the city team. Just imagine how many people would really want to play for that team just out of pride and because they like to play sports. And imagine the, pay they'd be willing to do it for. I bet you, if a professional athlete made $80,000 a year, which is more than most salaries, or let's just say $100,000, that's a lot more than most salaries. I think you'd have a lot of people from, these geographic regions and these states with huge populations who'd want to play for those teams, because they love to play sports. And what a dream job. You get to play a sport, honor your city, and you get paid a good salary, Don't you think it would be that way? Don't you think there'd be tons of people who'd be willing to play if they only got paid that much? But then you look at these guys, they get like millions and millions of dollars. It's like, why? How did it? This isn't the way economies work. Usually it's supply and demand. And the point I'm trying to make is there's a ton of supply of people that are athletic and want to play in these games. And, there's a lot of really good players in professional sports, but I'm not convinced that the best people are out there a lot of the time, especially in basketball. You look at some of these people on the basketball court, you're like, I don't know how you got out there, man. You might be tall, but you just, you know what I mean? I think of people like Chris Dudley. Oh, my God. Anyway. The point is, ultimately, wake up, it's a rigged show. These guys are getting paid a ton to keep their mouths shut, because this is a massive distraction for the people who rule this world. And they know that sports pacifies the average man, There'd probably be rebellion in the streets without these sports games. So, you can't deny what they're doing. Bengals beat the Colts and then the Ravens with the exact same score back-to-back weeks. By the way, 34-23, what are some other things that stand out about that score? It's a difference of 11 points. The master number of football is a game of 11 on 11. It is the Colts' 66th NFL season. If you add 1 through 11 together, it equals 66. The Colts this weekend are playing in Washington, D.C., not far from Baltimore, Maryland. Something else to think about. And what else jumps out about this score is if you add 34 plus 23 together, it sums to 57. Scottish Rite equals 57. American football credited to the Scottish Rite Freemason Walter Camp. So, 34 years ago, the Colts left Baltimore. And I did point out that the date numerology was right for the Bengals, but so much just really lined up with Joe Flacco and John Harbaugh, and as we know, it didn't end up that way. So you win some, you lose some. Till next time, Truth Seeker.